What's up, TikTok or YouTube? Don't exactly know where this is going yet. We're back on the Ltz400. Last time I had this bike in here, we were doing a valve adjustment. Today we're going to be replacing this timing chain right here. Can't really tell right now, but it's a little loose and it's definitely stretched. We've had to pull in that tensioner a couple times, and I assume the guides are probably pretty wore out too. So we're going to get those cams out of there, get that timing chain off, and replace it. But I wanted to show y'all how we get to here. So the first thing you're going to do is take off the side plastics. That would be right here and on the other side. They look like that. Then you have the plastic right there that goes over the gas tank. You have 2 bolts that secure the gas tank. Take those out, pull the gas tank off, and then you're at your head. Inside the head, you'll have 2 hoses. One connects right there, one connects over there, and then you have 3 Allen key bolts that have to come out, and then your head will pull off. I always leave the gasket if it's kind of stuck on there because I don't want to rip it. If your gasket isn't stuck on there, take the gasket off too. Then you're going to have to take the clutch cover off. Before doing that, you're going to want to drain your coolant. So the drain plug is right there. I've already taken it out. There's a bolt that goes in there. If you unscrew that bolt, then take off the reservoir cap, it'll shoot out of there like a rocket. So make sure you have some distance. It literally squirts to like here. So you'd want your pan somewhere around there. Then you're going to take all these bolts off. The way I do it is, if you can see, I put a little mark right there with a Sharpie. If you look in here, I have a mark up in that top left. That's where that bolt started, and then I just go around. That way I know where all my bolts are. You don't have to look at the service manual and try to match them up. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, since I already have the head off, is I am going to pull that clutch cover. We're going to take a look inside there. Also, this brake has to come off for that clutch cover to come out. I got the bolt loose, as you can see, but I haven't taken it all the way off yet. But I'm going to pull that clutch cover. We'll be able to see where the timing chain connects to the crank. Unfortunately, on this bike, you do have to pull the clutch to be able to get to the timing chain where it is on the crank. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to pull this cover off. We're going to inspect everything in there, and then we'll get into getting that timing chain off. All right, we're back. So I got the clutch cover off. This is what it looked like. As you can see, I kept the water pump and oil filter in the case. I didn't take either of those off. You don't have to. If you unclamp that line from the radiator, it can stay just like this. Obviously, it's going to drain out all of your oil, or at least most of your oil. So be ready for that. But looking in this case, as you can see, not a lot of metal in there, none that I can see. Looks like there might be a couple little flakes in that right there, but nothing crazy, which is an awesome sign. I have to be super careful because this machine is very dirty. We're not trying to get any dirt in this case, so I'm going to be very careful with everything I'm doing. The next thing I'm going to do is pull this clutch. As you can see, the timing chain sits right there. And this clutch basket overlaps just enough to where you got to pull the clutch to get that off. So we are going to pull it off. As I'm feeling in here, the cam chain doesn't feel as loose as it did last time I was in it. We did get the noise to quiet down for a while. The chain was slapping around in there, and we tightened up the tensioner just slightly, and it quieted it up for a little bit, and then I'd say after like 2 or 3 rides, it started getting pretty noisy again. So the guy who owns this, one of my good friends, just decided to go ahead and replace it. So that's why we're in here. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and start unpacking this clutch. The way that I'm going to do this is take out all of the springs. I'll pull the pressure plate off, and then we can start unpacking everything in there. Then we'll pull the basket. After we pull the basket, then we'll be able to get over here, take this nut off, take the gear off, and will be at the timing chain. So really not that hard of a thing to do, but it is definitely time consuming when you got to pull, you know, an entire clutch just to get the timing chain out of there. And also this being a dual overhead cam instead of a single overhead cam makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm not in time yet, so that is something else I will want to do and you will want to do if you're going to take that timing chain off. Before you take the timing chain off, I always like to get it to top dead center. That way we know at least the crank is at top dead center, and when we put the cams back in with the new timing chain, all we'll have to do is time up the top to be at top dead center as well, and we're good to go. So we're gonna get this clutch unpacked. All right, we're back again. As you can see, the clutch is now out of there, and I can now see all of the timing chain. We have a guide right here. We have a guide right here. We got this gear and this nut. So as soon as I take this nut off, I'll be able to pull that gear, and then I should be able to get the timing chain off of this lower sprocket without fucking with the guides, just because of how loose it is. If not, this has a manual tensioner and not the OEM cam tensioner, so I can just back that screw out and it'll loosen up the guides enough for me to get it off. So I got it to top dead center. If you don't know how to do that, the easiest way, if you already have this head off, is to look at the sprockets. I don't know if you can really see it. There's a 2 on that one. It should be facing up. There's a 1 and a 3 on the inside that should be parallel with the cases. You can kind of see that arrow down there, but it's hard to see. I keep getting in the shadow. Anyway, here the 3 will be facing up, and those other 2 lines should be parallel with the case. You can really see that one. So you see the little dimples, how they're aligned, and that gear in there. You can see one real good. There's the other one. See how they're aligned? So that's how I know I'm at top dead center, because of that dimple. If we come over here, you can see my T is lined up in the middle of there. And then these are both facing up right at the ends of the guide. We are perfectly in time. I wanted to give a quick update instead of just fucking editing my video. I decided I'm not going to take this gear off at all. Because I was thinking about it, and once I take these cams out and drop that cam chain down and get the tensioners off, this will come right, the chain will come right over this, so there's no need for me to take that off. So we're not going to do that, and we are just going to, I'm going to start getting these cams out, drop the chain down, and then it should just slide right over. Like I said, and we're going to loop the new chain in. The easiest way to put these new chains on is when you are in time like this, from this arrows, which I gotta get out of the light, see if it'll focus. Anyway, there's an arrow right here, and it points to this pin, okay? See how it points to this pin? So from that pin to this arrow's pin, it's gonna be 15. So let's count and make sure it's in time as of now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 15 is that one. We come down, we are perfectly in time. So when you're putting the new one on, it makes it super simple if you just follow that, and then the bottom one won't matter as long as you are in time, which we are. We are not going to move that crank at all while we take this timing chain off, and then we will line everything back up. And of course, we'll look at the markings on the crank so that we know that that is actually in time down there as well. But makes it pretty simple with the 15 spaces and the pins. There's not another bike that I know of that does this off the top of my head, so cool for LTZ doing that. Everything else about this was designed terribly. So basically, to get this guide out, you have to pull the head. And to pull the head, you have a couple head studs in here. I think there's 4 or 5, and then these 2 bolts on the outside. That is it. And then that will pull right off of there. You don't have to remove the tensioner to do this, so I left it on. You do have to remove the header, but after you pull that head off, that guide will come out. It sits in a little groove that's like right here behind these 2. It sits probably like right in there. There's a little notch that slides down into. So if you're replacing the guides, you cannot replace the guide without taking that off. I was able to get the chain out over this without having to take that off. As you can see, I've started to install the clutch again. Here's the timing you're looking for. It's going to be the 3 on this side and the 2 on this side. As if you can see, I painted it. Once again, it's 15 little pins from one to the other. And the only reason I painted this is because I had to take the cams back out after timing everything up to re-shim it, because the valves were also out of spec. So to do that, I didn't want to have to figure out timing again. I already had the timing spot on, so I just took a Sharpie, marked where I was at, and now we're all good to go. I want to go over just how everything goes. I can't remember all the torque specs on the head. They were 30-some foot-pounds or 40-some foot-pounds on the ones on the inside, and then I think these ones out here were like 12 something. All of these for the cam journals are 7 foot-pounds, and I have one that's stripped, this one right here, and I watched a YouTube video and a guy's was stripped on his too, and you can see it is wiggling in there. So I have a Healy coil on the way for it. We're gonna try to just throw a Healy in there and see if that'll work. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna tap it out, put a new bolt in it with a little bit better threads, and put some RTV sealant on it and just try to get it to seal down in there. Head keeps that bolt from actually coming out. Like, there's not enough room for it to pop all the way out and destroy anything, so I'm not too worried about it. You'll hear it rattling around if it comes unthreaded, and he actually has a whole nother head for this from the KFX, so if we have to, we can do that. But yeah, I just wanted to update. This head did have to come off to get out that one guide, but now we're going to install the clutch. So far I have the basket in there and my hub sitting right there with the washer. So after you put the hub on with that little sleeve that goes under it, that washer will go on, then the clutch hub will go on. And we're good there. So now, I have to get those 2 things on. If you read in your service manual, it'll tell you to replace this washer I'm about to show y'all. It'll tell you to replace this. If it's not too bad, I reuse them. All it's doing is you bend the tab down to make sure that this nut can't back itself off. That's literally the only function of it. So I always reuse them. So after I get this nut on, we'll jam something in that gear back there to make sure this can't spin, and then we'll torque this down to whatever spec. It's going to be a lot. I'd assume like 80 foot-pounds, 50 to 80 foot-pounds. So we'll get all that on, then we'll start packing the clutch. Probably not going to take a video of that because that's not what this video was for. It was for this. So everything is installed now. Clutch cover's back on. These bolts I took to 5.5 to 6 foot-pounds. It doesn't have a torque spec. You don't want to over tighten them because if they strip out, you're fucked. Top ones, the cam cover bolts, go to 7 foot-pounds. We got the Healy coil in here. This one's now actually at 10 foot-pounds since it had the Healy. Moly-based oil is what goes up here. Anytime you take these out, it's good to put the Moly-based oil in. I use liquid Moly for these. I'm going to put the cam cover on. These bolts, I forget, I think it's 10 foot-pounds for the top Allens, and I reused that gasket. But yeah, that is how you replace a timing chain.
If you guys have any questions, put them down in the comments. I'll try to answer, since this was a little weird of a video. I started this project almost 2 weeks ago, and then we had to wait on head gaskets. Anytime I'm taking a head off, I always replace the head gasket. So waited around for a couple weeks for that, and just got around to getting this thing back together. I'm also going to be making a video on that 400EX. We're going to get it washed today and then do a valve adjustment on it and maybe a carb clean. So you get to see some stuff on that.